This is my very first crochet granny square I've ever made in my life. And so I've just, this is my first crochet granny square project. So we're gonna crochet with me until my phone dies. It's at 9%. So hopefully it'll be an hour. If not, it's okay. But this is the first project of it, and hopefully I'll be done with it before I have to go do some sewing for my business stuff that I have at the big event on the 21st. So yes, definitely gonna be crocheting. And then I'm watching a case, and that is Nancy Grace. I just love how she talks. I like the way she covers the news. She keeps me awake. And it's about this Kentucky cheerleader who hit a pregnant baby, and then she apparently gave birth to it, and then like cleaned it up in the closet and didn't tell nobody. So that's where we're at right now.
And then finally, do they have any major birth defects, like they have no brain or
One,
something
one,
of that nature? Then you go from there, and you have to figure out if you determine that they could have been born alive, then you have to determine if they actually took a breath. And that can be a number of tests that are actually not all that accurate. There's the float test with the lung, but that can be disrupted by decomposition or CPR.
Dr. Kendall Crowns, I appreciate your vast knowledge. I also appreciate all of your episodes on Mayhem in the Morgue. I do. I've listened to them. They're amazing. But could you please dummy down, man? You said, unless they did a flotation test. What? Not everybody works in the morgue. Not everybody knows what you're talking about. You just rattled off about 15 medical phrases. I'm surprised you didn't throw Latin at me. Could you just start over and speak regular people talk, please? If not for the listener, for me, please start over if you don't mind.
So the main thing, like I was talking about, is they're going to be looking for any signs that the child was living when it was born. So did it take a breath? And if it took a breath, the lungs will fill up with air, and they could potentially float if you put them in water. So you could say, that they breathe if the lungs float in water. The problem with the flotation test...
Dr. Kendall Crowns, right there. You have to explain what that means, because that reminds me of when we were first told the Idaho 4 students that were murdered by Brian Goldberger died in their sleep. It's almost like they drifted off to a lullaby and they woke up in heaven. That's not what happened. They fought for their lives. It was horrible. You're saying the lungs are tested. What I believe you mean is this infant is cut open, its lungs are removed, and they're put in water to see if they float. Is that what that means?
That's correct.
You just rattling off the tip of your tongue like it's nothing. This is a baby, Dr. Kendall Crowns, that now has to be cut open.
She got on his butt.
And its lungs removed from its little body.
Bro.
How big are baby
appreciate
lungs?
the people in here. Appreciate.
How big is an infant's lungs?
This is the project. Let me probably I can wear this.
It depends on how old the baby is.
This is what
gestationally.
I'm my first granny square project.
If they are a newborn, their lungs are about a couple inches maybe.
So far.
Have you done a water test on a baby?
Yes.
I mean, what went through your mind when you're cutting out a baby's lungs that are this big, about the size of a good cup, a kitchen measuring cup? I mean, do you look at it in your hands and think, my stars, what happened?
So when I'm doing an autopsy on a baby, it's no different than doing an autopsy on an adult. I have to determine the cause and manner of death.
Jeez,
it is what it is. I have to figure out what happened to this child or happened to the adult, and that's the purpose of my employment.
Okay, I understand that. You have to remain detached while you're performing all of this. But, when you just rattle off, I'm not saying you're wrong. I know for a fact that you're right. But when you say it so methodically, I got to think this through, Dr. Kendall Crowns. You're saying one of the first things you do to determine COD, if it's not immediately visible with the naked eye, is you do a float test on the lungs. What that means is the baby is sliced open, its lungs are removed, and they're dunked in water. What? What kind of water? What is that in? A pan? A sink? What?
It's tap water, and it's in basically a big cup.
You know, we are talking on and
Jeez.
on and on, Dr. Kendall Crowns, about Lakin Snellings, and she's a real life Barbie, and she's a stunt person, and she's a cheerleader, and she's gorgeous, and she's Miss Fairest of the Fair. Nobody is talking about the baby boy that's
Nobody.
lying on a morgue table, getting its chest sliced open, its
Oh,
lungs
sheesh.
removed and put in water.
Oh my.
Why does it have to be all about her?
Mm.
That's why cases, and Josh Colesrud would not answer earlier, former federal prosecutor. I mean, okay, back to you, Dr. Kimmel Crowns. So you do a lung test, and if the lungs float, that means they had air in them. That means the baby was born alive. Is that where you're going with that?
That's correct. I mean, if they've taken a breath, the lungs will float, but it could also mean they were given. One of the other things you'll
If
do
there's
with the
bubbles
flotation
in
test
the-
is take the liver, take a section of the liver and place it in the water as well to see if it will float, to show that there is or is not decomposition.
Okay,
Now, this
wait a
test
minute,
isn't-
wait a minute. I've never heard this before. A float test on the baby's liver, so now the abdomen is cut out as well. Okay. Why would you do a float test on a liver? Why would there be air in the liver?
There would be no air in the liver, so if the liver doesn't float, you know that there is no decomposition. But if it does float, then it puts into question of whether the lungs are floating because of decomposition or because there's air in them. So then you have to go to microscopic analysis.
Thank you for the
Okay, so
love.
you compare
Appreciate
the float
you.
test of the liver to the float test of the lungs. And if the liver goes down
It's a
and the
process
lungs
of
go up,
elimination.
that indicates the lungs are floating because
So you
the
might as well
baby
just go
breathed,
straight
not
for the
because of
abdomen.
decompositional gases. Is that right?
The abdomen means
Correct,
that there
yes.
was
Okay,
it's
so that's what's
decompositional
happening
air.
to the baby.
You don't have to
What
go
else
through
will
the cut
be
the throat.
examined to determine the COD of this baby? Because this all hinges on the COD. If the baby was dead when it was born, was stillborn, then there's not going to be a murder prosecution, as Josh Colesrud pointed out. A lot is riding on the cause of death. What else will be done, Dr. Kendall Crowns?
So what else will be done is microscopic analysis, or looking at sections of the tissue under a microscope, looking for any disease processes. Also, you'll be looking at the lungs there as well, looking to see if the air sacs or the alveoli in the lungs have filled up with air. The other thing you'll be looking at is the placenta, if it's available. Looking at the
Thank you.
placenta,
Love
looking
your
for any evidence
shoes.
of hemorrhage or loss of oxygen or infarction or infection of the membranes. You'll be looking at the umbilical cord to see if it's normally formed, if it was wrapped around the child's neck, or if it has inflammation as well. And then you'll also be looking for any evidence of trauma, birth trauma, where like the shoulder got stuck and they had to pull the child very hard, fracturing the shoulder or separating the neck. You'll also be looking for inflicted trauma, like crushing of the ribs, breaking of the extremities or the long bones of the extremities, or crushing of the skull.
Hermania Rodriguez, DailyMail.com, thinking about and analyzing what Dr. Kimmel Krause just said regarding, was the baby's shoulder broken or prolapsed when it was delivered, other injuries to the baby during delivery. It's my understanding that she had the pregnancy bump one day, and the next day, Wednesday, it was gone, and she went to class. So obviously she did not have any injuries.
That's right. And while we have not been able to confirm that she told anyone about this pregnancy, as we saw the images show that she has a visible bump that she then did not have after giving birth. So I think it's safe to say she was probably not injured. And the autopsy report did say that the baby did not have any obvious injuries either.
Good evening. Representing Jefferson County Fair, I am Lakin Snelling.
Lakin attends the University of Kentucky, and she's 20 years of age. Her parents are Terry and Michelle Snelling of Morris.
I gotta do something real
Making
quick.
the dean's list while also being a student athlete, Division I athlete on the stunt team at the University of Kentucky. 100 plus community service hours in the past year. On honored to be crowned the Jefferson County Fair Student Fair and being able to represent our county.
I want to be very clear at this juncture. Lakin Snellings is not charged with murder. We are waiting on a full and complete autopsy report.
A roommate's dog leads to a horrific discovery inside Lakin Snelling's closet. Inside a black trash bag, the remains of a baby boy, along with the evidence used to hide the birth.
Lakin Snelling's caught on video stating how grateful she is for, quote, family. I don't know if that includes the baby boy found wrapped in towels in a trash bag in her closet. But I want you to see some text that we have uncovered. Here is Lakin Snelling's. And if you see her goals, let's see a close-up of her goals. Motherhood, well, then that baby's getting fed a bottle by a loving mom with blonde hair like Lakin Snelling's. That is not what happened to this baby. And also circled as her goal is a family with 2 children, an engagement ring, money, and a house. What more have we learned? Being 20 is so weird. Like, I'm an adult, but I still can't really do anything. But people my age have kids. Well, I think she knows the answer to that. I actually start tweaking at the fact I may only birth boys and never get a girl that would be a little small miniature me. My parents had a whole child at my age, and I don't even know how to drive onto the tracks of a car wash. Okay, this and watching the kids play in the yard. She seems like she'd be a great mom. How I sleep at night knowing I'm dating the person I'm going to marry. Marriage is scary. What if he doesn't want to put our daughter in cheer the second she can walk? Okay, I need a shrink, and I need a shrink right now. Dr. Bethany Marshall.
My phone's about to die.
Well, they all are significant. Okay.
Yes.
Now, none of this will likely
I'll
ever
try and
come
get
before a
live
jury
again
because they will
once
be
this phone
deemed
dies.
not probative. In other words, they're incendiary and they don't really
Well,
prove
let me
anything.
say bye now.
Right.
But what about the part about